You're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Way below acceptable. Way below acceptable.
On this week's episode,
Miss me with that. I'm at the point now where I want to say to people like that, keep Black people's names out of your mouth. Keep our traditions out of your mouth. Keep our culture out of your mouth.
okay. And on that note,
Way below acceptable.
hey everybody, welcome to Sticky Note Conversations. I am your host, Erika Washington, and I'm so excited to have this conversation today because it is the end of 2025. And actually, when you hear this, it'll already be 2026. This will technically be the first show of 2026, but the last show of this season. So what I wanted to do today was have a look back and a look forward. What are we leaving behind in 2025? What are we calling in 2026? How are we showing up? How do we actually take inventory of what went well and what we could have done better in 2025? How could we have shown up better as a friend, as a lover, as a parent, as a human being, as a neighbor? And thinking about ourselves, not what other people could have done for us, but what we could have done for ourselves. And thinking about what we can do for our community. Can we show up in a different way that yields a better result than what we have been doing? And we're going to do that with my very, very, very good friend, Derek Washington. He's here to also talk about his intentions. Now, because he's here, we're also going to have a little messy time, and we're going to have all the tea time and talk about what 2025 tea brought to us and what we're expecting in 2026 as we're going into a year of midterm elections and also celebrity gossip or petty things, just because we can, and it should be fun, because as we're ending the year, we need to end on a high note, and we need to end with some laughter and a good time, and also start the year with a good time. So welcome, Derek Washington.
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey. I want to start off this conversation. It probably ended the same way as well, but we were talking the other day on the phone, and I always say we record our conversations. Those could actually be podcasts within themselves. But you were talking about how bad 2025 was and that you were looking forward to 2026. And I said, we actually have to give thanks to all of the things of 2025. It may have felt like a poop show. It may have felt, hard and oppressive. And there's so many things that we could list out that weren't great about 2025. But what I have found over the years, and I learned this from a friend, I'm going to call in Ramon Savoy, who is a forever mentor to me. He said to me a number of years ago when I said that about a different year, and I said, I don't know if it was 2019 or 2018. It was another year, and I was just like, this year was crap. I can't wait for this year to be over so I can get into the next year. And he's like, don't do that, because you don't know what's ahead. And you have to think about the good things that have happened in the year, and don't just throw it away, because it did happen. It's a part of your life and a part of your history and your legacy. And then what you bring into the next year with good intention is how you move forward. And also, it could be worse. You could say, I'm throwing away 2019 because it was a garbage year. And then you got 2020 and we ended up all locked in our homes. So thinking about that, I want to make sure, as we are talking about some of the not so great things about 2025, that we're doing it from a perspective of, this is what has happened, and it's helped build and make us into what we're going into in 2026. So going into it with gratitude and reflection and intention is my vibe for this conversation, but also my vibe for 2026.
2025 was Annus Horribilis. And let me explain what that means. In 1992, I think it was, Queen Elizabeth had the worst year of her life. All the kids was getting divorced. Her castle burned down. She had a pregnancy scare. Or that might have been Max from Living Single. But anyway, And
The way I almost just had a spit take when you were like, a pregnancy serum. I'm not even going to do the math on what her age was. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that.
The point is, the Queen does this. I'm an Anglophile for everybody out there. I'm a complete Anglophile. And I always watch the Queen's address on Christmas Day. And that Christmas, normally she's all, lovely, 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 and lovely, and we have so much to be thankful for, and lovely, lovely. And that year she was like, you know what? This year sucked. This year was so bad. Everything sucked. And it was Annus Horribilis, the horrible year. To me, 2025, Erika is a better person than I. She looks back and sees it as Ramon said it. I look back on it like I wish that I could Acme bombs and building tools that whole year. I think 2025 literally was the worst year of many bad years in my life, but 2025 sucked, and I look forward to seeing it in the rearview mirror. And you know what? If something is worse than 2025, I'm prepared because 2025 sucks so bad.
Okay. And that's okay too. That's okay too. What sucked?
What sucked? Well, let's start with my mom died, but I will say what didn't suck is she didn't suffer. So I'm happy for her there. What sucked is I realized, and you brought this up, is that I am an orphan. 2025 was the first, I'm going to start crying. 2025 was the first ever Thanksgiving that I had without my parents. It was the first ever Christmas that I had without my parents. And my mom and I, every year, would go and watch fireworks on New Year's Eve. And this is going to be my first time without my mom to go and watch New Year's Eve fireworks with. So that alone sucked. My friend Nick just died a couple of days ago. I've known Nick for 15, almost 20 years. He died of a really aggressive form of cancer. But I'm going to try to be good about this and look on the good side. I got a message today on Facebook from his roommate, who I didn't realize this, but I was the only person Nick allowed to visit him. And he was very happy because I make him laugh and smile and all that kind of stuff. So that was good. But I lost another friend to drugs. The good that came out of that is I got close to his mom and his stepdad. But I lost a really good friend to drugs. I lost another friend to just, it was time for us not to know each other anymore, which was a sad reckoning. And then, there's the whole issue of it is okay now to hate other people, and it is encouraged on a federal level. I'm sick and tired. This year was a lot of anti-Blackness that came to the fore, more so than I think in any other year. And I'm tired of it. I could go down the list. Also, I went to that Indian curry pizza place, and I had been looking forward to it for quite some time. And it was expensive, it was nasty, and the customer service sucked. And it's the one on Maryland Parkway by UNLV. There.
Well, that topped it, I guess. Sometimes it's the little things that break the camel's back or what have you.
Said, it's not the 13th thing, it's the 12 things that led up to it. And that pizza place, that was it.
And, I think your mom passing, it did suck. It does suck. And she randomly came into my mind the other day. And it's one of those things where sometimes you can forget that someone's gone and you think of something and you're just like, oh, wait, no, actually, I can't ask them this question, or, I'm not going to see them again, because I enjoyed talking to your mom. She was fun to talk to, and I wish I would have been able to have more conversations with her about more than just your shenanigan, but just about her life. And she was a beautiful person, and I'm still working on getting into that dress you gave me that belonged to her.
It's funny you would say that, because I think, as we both know, she liked you better than she liked me. You were the daughter that my mom was always looking for a daughter. Not that she didn't love me, but, she was a girl's girl. And every time, I still haven't gotten rid of any of her clothes, which is ridiculous. But every time that I do go in the closet, and sometimes I just touch her clothes. And whenever I get to the good stuff, I'm always, how would Erika look in this? So there's some other things there. But yeah, I still go in there and touch her clothes. Just rub my fingers.
Because they smell like her. I've had things of my grandparents for years. I still have things of my grandparents, but for a long time, things smelled like them. And I still have a pillowcase that my grandmother was an ironer. She ironed everything, including sheets. And so I get it honestly because I do iron. Sometimes I iron my pillowcases and sheets too, especially if I'm stressed. I'll iron a whole duvet cover. It's obsessive. But I have a pillowcase of hers that she ironed, and it's so perfectly square and folded neatly. And I've never used it. It's just sits in my drawer, still folded. I've never even all the way unfolded it. Right. So technically she folded this piece, and it's been this way for a number of years. And grief is always with us constantly. And I'll say two things about this. One is your mom passing away was inevitable because we're all going to do that, right? And so it's hard for folks to not be around and be in our lives the way that they were. But I will also say the last few years that you had to take care of her and that you had to be the adult, like the true adult, and parent your mom as she was going through her illness, and you grew up, and it added so much character to your life and into who you are. Like, I've seen so much change in you in a good way because you had to be in charge, and it brought something out of you that I think that had been lied dormant because your mom was always there, and then you had to be the big boy. And so now that she's gone, like you're still carrying that on because you're holding on to her, and you're living in the place where she was, and holding on to that it's a lot. It's a lot to hold, but you're doing such a good job. And I think that it's growing you in a way that brings in the attention of all of the things that you want to happen in your life in the future. And so that's something to celebrate in what you were able to do for her, because she knows how much you loved her and you took such good care of her, and she knows that. And yes, she did like me more than she liked you, but she still thought you were pretty much okay. She was like, he's okay too. But she saw you grow. She saw you grow. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And then the last thing I'll say is that not too long ago, I was in Minneapolis for a conference, and I was leaving, and I was in the airport, and I was there for a conference, but
Erika has America.
That is so not the point. Yes. And Electra listens to the podcast, so she can hear you profess your love to her. And so, yes, but me and Electra got to hang out. We went to go see Prince musical. But when I was in the airport leaving, I went to the Prince store, and, I have a big fan of Prince, and I'm just touching stuff, looking for something to buy. And a lot of things were really, really, everything I wanted was super expensive. The guy there is like, every time you walk over to something, you keep walking to the most expensive thing. And I was like, yeah, I have a natural, affinity for that. Yes. That's just who I am. But as we were talking, he's like, oh, well, make sure you come back next year in 2026 because it'll be the 10th anniversary. And I said, of what? He said, of Prince's death. And I literally, I caught my breath. Like it literally stopped me for a second as he said it, because I'm staring at him. And what that made me think about is that my mother has been gone for 10 years because she died a month after Prince. And also Electra's father died a few months before that. So then I had texted her and I said, I think our parents have been gone for 10 years next year. And she said, yeah. And I said, I don't understand. I literally had to stand there in the airport and really hear this in my head, because it doesn't feel like it's been 10 years that I've been on this earth, a whole decade. as an orphan. And that feels super crazy to me. Honestly, it does. But, I say that to say is that it gets easier. And then there are times where, it catches you off guard that the people that knew you as a child, somebody who wiped your snotty nose, somebody who taught you how to wipe your behind, somebody who fed you things that, were healthy to you, people that know all of the goofy things about you, the embarrassing things about you, they start to disappear from this earth and they're not there anymore. And that is hard to know that there's no one you can ask certain questions to. Like, hey, do you remember what my favorite, breakfast was when I was 5? And there's no one who would answer that question anymore.
The other day, I was in Tivoli Village, and, it's a replica of an Italian village. And I thought about the time that my mom took me to Rome when I was 6. And we were in the some piazza, and there was an orchestra playing. And this is like the height of like the jet set and cafe society. So there were all these really elegantly dressed people. And it was a warm night, and the orchestra was playing. And my mom and I were walking back to the hotel, and she grabbed me and we started dancing. And we're dancing in this piazza, and it was magical. And when we stopped dancing, everybody clapped. And she's not here to share that moment with us. So yes, it happens when you least expect it. Because here I am in Tivoli Village, bawling.
And it's such a fake looking Italy at that.
Right. But it's
no shade to, it's a shopping area for people who are unfamiliar. It's a shopping with food and small shops, juices and,
outdoor
whatever.
Cafes and the cobblestone and a big fountain in the middle. But yeah, it's like when you least expect it, it just comes at you, and it's so wild. It's really, really wild. And yeah, Annus horribilis,
You're listening to
Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington.
So thinking about New Year's and our intentions that we want to bring into 2026, do you have some traditions? Are you a black eyed pea?
Oh, yes.
And collard green?
Right now, I am soaking black eyed peas in the fridge. And then I'm just going to dry them out real good, put them in the freezer until it's time. Because last year, I literally, for me and my mom's, because my mom was big on that, the black eyed thing, people explain the black eyed thing to people who may not be of Negro persuasion.
So there are some New Year's traditions that many African-American people abide to. One is cooking a pot of black-eyed peas on New Year's Day, and that is supposed to bring luck. Also cooking a pot of greens, whether it's turnip greens or collard greens, to bring financial security and wealth into your home. Cornbread is also something that we do. I don't remember what cornbread stands for. I don't think it's not wealth. I can't remember, but you both have cornbread. And,
and rice. We do rice too.
We didn't do rice. We weren't a rice family, so we didn't do rice. Because you had cornbread. Like, there's a lot of starch happening here. So, but also, like, there's some more. Some people, like, a man has to walk over the threshold first into your house. I'm a big fan of that one. That a man has to walk over your threshold. It has to be the first person to walk over the threshold. Has to be a man.
Like a
man
or a Christ-like figure, or what is that about? I mean, I've never heard that one.
It's not I think it's just, it's for protection. I think it's for protection or something, like bringing the masculine. I don't know, bring the masculinity in. It does not have to be a Christ-like man, just a man that you trust, obviously. Well, a man you don't trust shouldn't be walking over your threshold anyway. But a man coming in wearing red underwear, is also a thing to bring in romance into your life. And there's a bunch of them. There's something else about under the table that I saw last year for the first time. That was going around for a while. I don't really understand that one.
I'm going to stick to the tried and true. Black-eyed
eating under the table.
And the greens. So last year, I just figured, you know what? I'm going to go get some black eyed peas for me and mom. Do you know, it took me, I think I counted 6 or 7 hours before I finally found any black eyed peas. I went through the entire valley. I had no idea how that tradition was so popular and how little black foods are carried. There was no greens anywhere. And so luckily we had a can of greens that my mom had bought. Yeah.
Ew.
And so we always have cornbread in the house because we are black. But yeah, we always got that Jiffy. Got a box of Jiffy.
No, I got to make homemade cornbread.
Yeah,
I have to make cornbread from scratch in a cast iron skillet.
Oh, you know what? Nah. Jiffy, a lot of butter, some sugar, throw it in the oven.
You're adding more sugar to Jiffy? It's already sweet.
No, we eat sweet around here. We eat sweet. Come on now. Anyway, the point is, I was really shocked at how many people obviously celebrated that tradition because there was none of the things needed anywhere. And everybody I talked to, they were going in the back. There were no frozen peas. There was nothing. And that was it was eye-opening to me, and it sort of made me feel good too. I was sort of like, you know what? I like that. I like that people are being traditional. It made me feel-
I mean, I think it there's a moment where that brings you, it resets. It's a reset. Yeah. And also, again, it goes back to the intention of what we want, whether we actually follow through later, like that's something different. But the intention of wanting that good luck and that financial security and all of that, and knowing that so many other folks in our culture are doing it at the same time, I think it brings in this sense of unity and this camaraderie that sometimes we don't have, especially when people talk about, well, other cultures, they're better at doing this and better at doing that, which is not true, but there are just less things that I think that sometimes we have to hold dear to say that this is ours. And so I make sure we do it.
I think that's what made me so happy when I couldn't find this stuff, is because exactly what you just said, we're always considered like we don't have culture, we don't have traditions, and we do. And that to me was like, oh, look at us out here buying up all the black eyed peas. That did make me feel good as a black person. That was strong. That was a very strong tradition. Because, so I have to bring up something. We have a former city council person, Bob Beers, who is a right-wing Republican. Did you see that?
I saw the post.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So Bob posted, and full transparency, I like Bob. When I ran for city council, when no Democrats would help me, Bob sat me down and gave me lots of advice, told me who to call. I worked for him on his campaign against a Democrat who turned out to have to resign in disgrace, and I knew this was going to happen. So I have a history with Bob. But Bob has gone MAGA. And to me, every single week daily, they have to have something to be mad about. And he touched a nerve that I didn't know I had. He wrote this post about how basically Kwanzaa was a fake made up holiday by somebody in prison and blah, 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 blah. And it hit the third rail with me because, you know what? It is a fake made up holiday. But guess what?
All of them are.
All holidays are fake and made up. There is not one single holiday. For instance, you talk about Christmas. The connection between Christmas and the baby Jesus is tenuous at best. And the baby Jesus being this white, blue-eyed baby, that's a made-up thing. And who says he was born in December? Blah, blah, blah. It's made up.
He wasn't.
So you're mad about Black people having a made-up holiday, yet you have no problem with dressing your kids up every single Easter to celebrate Christ rising from the dead by looking for colored eggs pooped out of a rodent. And, but that's okay. But we can't have Kwanzaa, which actually celebrates good things and inspires people to be better people. But I'm sick of the Black culture, Black traditions, Black this, Black that, doesn't matter. Blackness is not good. And it just really hit me the wrong way. And it was about our culture and about the fact that, you know what, maybe we did have to create something for ourselves because we're sick of y'all and all of the stuff that you constantly do to us. So we needed something to tell ourselves, no matter how bad things are, here's some things you could like hold on to make better.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose of him making that post was about. I don't know why he felt that that was necessary to say, because his point of bringing out that Kwanzaa was created by this man who had this checkered past, which is true, but I'm not sure what it has to do with anything. Like the fact that
the point of why he created it, because he had a checkered past.
And so, but also whatever happened with that man doesn't have anything with the intentions of what we do with it and how we use it as a way to celebrate and think about what we need to do. Like Kwanzaa is based in unity, in collectiveness, in celebrating all of these things. And he probably knows very little about, I don't know if he's ever been to a Kwanzaa celebration in Las Vegas or otherwise, but it felt like a drunken rage or whatever. He made it sound like, it's because it's going to be in the schools or something. And I don't know I don't know anywhere where they're like mandating that you have to teach Kwanzaa.
Nah, it's being nice. It's like, oh, look, something else to add to the holiday spirit. And the other part that got me was, and he was complaining that it's monetized. Really? What is Black Friday? What is the Christmas sale?
Valentine's Day, everything. Like there's a Martin Luther King sale. I got a couch. I got couches on a discount on Martin Luther King Day a couple years ago.
You're celebrating what should be a day like mourning a person who was assassinated, but you're selling sheets. So but when Black people have something that they monetize and sell Kwanzaa goodies and sell Kwanzaa clothes and sell Kwanzaa arrangements, that's bad. Miss me with that. I'm at the point now where I want to say to people like that, keep Black people's names out of your mouth. Keep our traditions out of your mouth. Keep our culture out of your mouth.
Okay. And on that note,
move on.
Okay, so thinking about, there are so many things that we talk about.
Or something, I don't know. I feel like I should just like say Patrice Lumumba, the revolution will not be televised.
The revolution will not be televised, nor will it be a podcast either. So thinking about 2025, let's talk about it. There's so many things that happened. I was just trying to think of like all the things that happened in 2025. There was a Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar, and then you have, but then there was also so many people who died in 2025, which we'll talk a little bit about that. But also, what else happened in 2025 that like really stands out to you?
I think that we became a country where it was okay to openly be horrible. J.D. Vance recently got up at Turning Point USA, and that was a pivotal moment in the year. Charlie Kirk's assassination was a pivotal moment in our history.
Charlie Kirk's murder. He was not assassinated.
You're right.
I think we have to be really intentional with our words, and I'm not saying it in a disrespectful way because the man died. But assassination has always been kept for people of a certain stature. Presidents get assassinated, world leaders get assassinated. If somebody, not podcasters, if I get shot in the face outside somewhere, no one's going to say I was assassinated.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Murder.
And my podcast is more interesting than his was. But carry on.
But J.D. Vance, so that from that moment on, it's been horrible, culminating with J.D. Vance getting in front of Turning Point USA, which is the widow's new grift machine, and saying, you no longer have to apologize for being white. First of all, why are you even saying stuff like that, except that you just want to be awful? Because the currency now is the more awful you can be, the bigger your platform. And that's weird. That is weird. We don't aspire as a country to be better than before. You're talking about intentionality, talking about going to being a better person in the new year. It's almost like people want to be their worst possible selves. And when I say people, I'm specifically talking about MAGA and adjacent to MAGA. So I don't want to just say white people, because there's a lot of really horrible Black people as well out there. and being
They're
celebrated.
horrible people of all shades,
That's my
creeds,
point.
colors, and nationalities.
That's my point. So I'm not saying it's just white people. I'm saying in general, we have decided. I see horrible Indian people. I see horrible Latino people. I see horrible Black people. I'm just
Okay.
yeah, and we celebrate them. And I just have to say one person in particular, that two people, because they'll lead into her. There's a guy named Boosie. He's the he's
Lil
a rapper.
Boosie?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lil Boosie.
Worst. So he gets platformed everywhere by Black folks. That man literally hired a sex worker to SA his son.
This was years ago. Stop saying SA. Okay, so can we? Okay, because I have a real problem, and I'm gonna let you finish your thought process. But actually, I'm gonna let you finish your thought process, and then I'm gonna say what I need to say. I'm gonna get on my soapbox for a second.
Respectful of the zeitgeist, but I hate that too. He had his son raped by a sex worker to teach him how to be a man. He goes on dating shows with his son to pick out the girls that his son is going to have sex with. That is grooming. It is pathetic. And yet we as a society put him on a pedestal along with people like Andrew Tate and Charlie Kirk and Nick Fuentes and Nicki Minaj. Segue.
Yeah, it's a segue into Nicki Minaj and her having a conversation with Erika Kirk during this tour that they're doing with the Turning Point USA. And so Nicki Minaj was invited on to have a conversation about, I guess, the state of women and all of that. I'm not really sure what the ultimate intent was, but it brought out a lot of conversation politically about, where Nicki Minaj stands, thinking about who she is as an entertainer. She's a rapper who has been rapping about sexuality and whatever else. I'm not a Nicki Minaj fan. I've never been. So I can barely tell you. I only know a few of her songs, but her, Barbie this and Plastic that. But she was praising the president, and she was also talking about how she thought, how great Charlie was and what women should be thinking about. And it seems to be a tour of women's values, I guess, or how women need to revert back to former values of being at home with their children and putting their man first. And so I don't know where I'm going with this, except to say that I have a lot of thoughts about that and about what are you trying to get to with that? It's not real womanhood unless you are doing things in this sort of traditional way. And I think that's where the whole trad wife thing comes in. All of these different things are happening at the same time. It's all very intentional. There's so much intention going into feeding into the minds of folks that, oh, you're doing it wrong. And you need to stop thinking about being a career woman or, being a boss lady or whatever, because you need to be thinking about just being a wife and a mother. And that's the most important thing. There's nothing wrong with being a wife and a mother. I love being a mother. I don't know that that my life would have been complete without me being a mother, but it's not the only thing that I aspire to be as a person. And I feel as though the propaganda that they are pushing right now, especially towards the younger folks, is really trying to get them to revert back to the times when women couldn't have their own credit cards. You couldn't buy a house. You couldn't do all of these things without a man. And because now that we can, now our values are all askew because I can get a mortgage in my name and I can, get an American Express card. And that to me is silly.
Well, my thing with her, because you're right about all of the above, kids they needed a Nicki Minaj, or they don't know a lot of Black people. And Candace didn't work out. So they need a Nicki Minaj to come in and sell it to who they think Nicki Minaj's audience is. And that is not her audience. Her audience is gay dudes. So they think that she's going to speak to the young black girl and basically allow white supremacy through Nicki. My problem with all of this with Nicki is simple. Part of me feels very sorry for her. She is an amazing actress. Every movie she's ever in, she steals. Like every
What
movie.
movie she's been in?
She's in a movie with Cameron Diaz. That's a really Cameron Diaz and
is it like the Oceans movie? Was she in one of the Ocean movie? No,
I don't know if she was in one. I don't know.
The Girl Oceans movie.
No,
I don't know.
She's in a movie with Candace and Kate Upton, who I find so sexy, and one of those Saturday Night Live disposables. But she plays.
Isn't that the Oceans movie?
No. This is about they all have an ex-boyfriend in common. The women do, and it's a funny movie. It's a rom-com. But Nicki plays Cameron Diaz's secretary. Literally every scene she's in, she walks away. So she's got great timing. She could be so much more. But Nicki is obviously, and I'm just going to psychoanalyze her. She's obviously hurting from the BBLs to the plastic surgery to now this. She's with a man who basically is probably the worst human being on earth, and he needs a pardon. Her brother is in jail for raping children. And it's obvious that with Trump is transactional. You kiss his butt enough, and she called him handsome, he will give you what you need, which is a pardon. I don't think he's ever going to give her any of that love, and I think she's being played. But I think it's sad to watch her doing this. Your entire base is gay people, gay queens, the kind that just flitter, flut, heels the whole bit. The Barbs are gay men, period. And yet her whole platform is talking about how heinous it is to allow trans kids to be trans kids and support them as opposed to doing what they've always done with them, which is metaphorically taking them out back and beating the hell out of them. I look at other people. I look at Azalea Banks. Azalea Banks and Cardi B can get online and talk a lot of mess. Because at the end of the day, they're doing it authentically. Azalea Banks is crazy. Bat crazy. But she's always right. She told us about Elon Musk years ago. And when she has a fight with somebody, they deserved it. When Nicki started picking fights with Cardi, it didn't make sense. And it came off as jealousy and like, I'm being replaced. And it just seems Nicki seems to need a lot of love that she's not getting or hasn't gotten somehow. And I think that's what this is about. So I feel great sorrow for her soul for what she's going through. But on the other hand, don't coon out. You, Snoop, Nelly, Canduce, or what do they call her? Kundus. Don't do that. Don't do that. Have some. Now you're being called MAGA Minaj. That's where, and they're not there. They're not going to protect you.
I know she deleted her social media, so they must have really been dragging her.
J.D. Vance himself said that she was a horrible role model. Now she's the MAGA darling, and she's on stage with his girlfriend, his mistress, his lover, and now all of a sudden she's okay. Nicki, that changes overnight. I've been in a position where I was the white people's darling, and when I wasn't anymore, I wasn't anymore. Luckily I knew I was black and it didn't really matter, but yeah. That they're just using you, girl. And I feel bad that it seems like everyone in her life is using her to get what they want. And she's trying to please them. And she has wrecked everything in the process.
People's memories are really short. Do you think that it'll last? Like, she's deleted her Instagram for a while. Do you think that she'll come back with a new album or some new songs or whatever, or line of something, and then people will be like, oh, it's fine?
No, she's not a man. And that is the problem. The Snoop Coon, he hasn't come back yet. He just put on that holiday special and people are dragging him still. Nelly had to basically go be quiet in a corner. I think 50 gets away with it because he's 50.
What did 50 do?
50's MAGA. He's a big Donald Trump friend. Oh, yeah, big time. They're buddies from back in the day. They have a friendship.
I don't see him ever saying anything, though. So I think that's why nobody's...
I think, but he's definitely...
Because I didn't know that. Like, I would assume most rich people spend time in spaces that we just don't know what folks are doing. But I've never seen him to look MAGA.
Kardashian version of MAGA. Like they go to UFC. You know what I mean? So she's a man. She's not a man. And look at Amber Rose. Amber Rose has been torched, fired, sent out to the pasture. She will never be able to come back. Can Kundis could come up tomorrow and be like, you know what, I was wrong. And she's not going to get back in. The only thing that's saving her right now is she's picked on another group that people hate as much as they hate Black people. So that's the only thing keeping her relevant right now. But yeah, she's a woman and she's being used by all these men. And I don't see her coming back from it. I really don't. And it's sad because Nicki is a cultural icon.
Okay.
Face.
If you say so. If you say so.
She really is.
Okay. Somebody online said she was no longer biodegradable.
I love online. And see, that is what the internet is for. For world class.
Like when she's buried, everything's just gonna stay exactly where it is.
She's gender affirming care, but yet she talks about trans kids as if they're different.
Well, and that is the thing. Like, when people talk about gender affirming care, when they're trying to ban it, which is hormonal treatments and a lot of different things for transgender folks, as they're either trying to transition or they're just trying to suppress certain things. And I don't want to get into the technicalities because I don't know them, but they lump all this into gender affirming care. I think it also can include your therapy sessions and what have you, but also isn't just any sort of hormone treatment, even if it's for women. Is Viagra not considered that? Yeah, because it's something you need for your gender in order
JD Vance is the ultimate in gender affirming care. How many times has he changed his name and his personality to fit who he thinks he is? JD Vance. JD Vance's name.
I was saying Diddy too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like, yeah, you talk about gender affirming care. Who doesn't have gender affirming care? I shaved my face because I wanted to look different. Gender affirming care. Yes, it is.
If you say so. Yes. I mean, and I bleached my hair. I'm back being full blonde again. Gender affirming care.
Yeah.
So
like bathrooms at Target. Why do you care if there's a family restroom at Target that anybody can go in?
There's family restrooms everywhere.
Exactly my point. Everywhere. But yet you're worried about a trans person going in a bathroom. Well, have you ever been to a Walmart where they have one of those? So that way you don't have to go in when you want to take a poop and have somebody hear you because you go into the gender affirming care bathroom. That's all. I'm done.
I don't think that's what that is, but okay. Okay, so moving on. Nevada specific, and then this affects outside Nevada too, but 2025 also brought a special legislative session that the governor called to tackle a few particular bills. One of the bills was a tax credit bill to bring Hollywood into Nevada. A few different film studios have pitched the idea of building film studios in Nevada to film movies and do different things, what have you, right? And to bring new industry into the state. On the surface, that sounds great. And it could be great because diversifying the economic base of any place is a good idea. And right now, Nevada is a place of hospitality and gaming. No matter if you are in Las Vegas or in Reno or otherwise, it's about hospitality and gaming. And that is what keeps the state running. So diversifying can be great. However, when we bring in new industry, that also usually means bringing in promises around jobs and tax rebates or not having to pay taxes for a number of years. And so they put these packages together to say, okay, well, we'll come in and we're bringing all this money in and this is what we'll do for the community. And they try to check some boxes and folks will push back and say, hey, actually, what I need you to do is make sure you hire local people. We need you to donate an X amount of dollars into the school system. We need you to, start some training classes for folks, whatever it is, right? It could be a bunch of different things. And so then the conversation goes back and forth with legislators and the lobbyists and the powers that be, and then political organizations, and until they can come up with something that people can get behind and support. That didn't really happen with this bill. I think it happened behind closed doors in a lot of places, but it didn't happen in a transparent way that brought in enough of a carrot for people to go for it. And so there were a lot of organizations who were like, nah, this isn't good. This isn't enough. I know they were offering some money to like CSN and offering some job training courses that they would do. But it didn't sound like there was a lot of long-term jobs for Nevadans to be able to reap the benefits of this new industry. And so the session came into play, and there were some long conversations, a lot of tough conversations back and forth, and ultimately the legislature did not pass the bill required to allow these film studios to come in to Nevada with this special package of tax breaks.
First of all, a special session is the sneaky link of politics. It's always, I'm going to get what I want now that failed in the regular session. I'm going to get what I want now because we're going to go behind the doors. We're going to change the rules on how people can comment. We're going to do all this sneaky stuff. We're going to let the lobbyists roam the halls like feral bananas and do everything that they want to do. And so a special session is always sus. Every time there's a special session, I'm like, Every single thing that's been ever passed that's big, passed in special session. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing I'm not a fan of giving away tax breaks to billionaires. I will say with the Raiders, what I will say about them is they actually became real members of the community like they said they would. I think the Raiders thing worked out. I wish that everybody else would look at that as the template and make it work. Look at marijuana. We were promised that green drops of money were going to fall out of the sky. And where's that money? Where's the rainy day fund? Where is it? With this bill, the thing that I think happened is people are sick and tired. Bernie Sanders has finally gotten into the bloodstream. We're sick and tired of people getting stuff from taxpayers who then turn around and don't want to benefit the taxpayers they get the money from. So this bill allowed $150 million, I believe, in sellable credits. Well, guess who wanted that? We're trying to diversify from the casino industry, the hospitality industry. But the hospitality industry wanted those because basically they could go to the movie studios and say, hey, we'll give you 75 cents for your dollar. Then go to the state and say, well, we got $150 million in tax credits. We ain't got to pay you nothing. How does that benefit the state? Furthermore, why are we doing this? I'm from that industry, the entertainment industry in LA. That's the last thing I did before I came here. I know how it works. There was a DEI portion, which basically was just saying, you know what? We're going to make efforts to hire people from various communities, period. But DEI means black. Woke means black. Let's just be honest. So these legislators,
even when it actually doesn't, but that's how people translate.
Yeah, because we all know it benefits white women the most. Just like affirmative action, white men have had affirmative action for 600 years, but it means black now. So the unions wanted to get rid of it. And for why? I come from that world. I worked at a television studio. There were exactly 4 black people there. Myself, 2 people in editing, and the HR person. During Katrina, we all sat in the HR person's office going, and no one else cared. The point is that industry does not hire black people. It does not care about black people's issues. It only sees black people as a revenue source for some coonery. That's how they think of us. So why would they want DEI taken out? Because they have no intention of hiring us and they don't want to have any rules to have to hire us. And the issue that I have is that Black folks, especially ones who are always screaming about how Black they are, and Black adjacent folks who always get invited to the proverbial cookout, then voted to get rid of the DEI. Why? You didn't have to do that. You just basically preemptively, just like everybody else does with these people, you preemptively kick the Black folks to the curb because you know that's what they didn't want to do, is deal with Black people. So why are we giving them tax credits? Why are we taking away the DEI? Why are Black and Black adjacent people who get invited to the cookout all the time, if I can be more specific, why are y'all voting against the one little thing that we got out of it? And you know what? And I think that all of the people of color who voted to get rid of the DEI portion all need to be primaried and hopefully replaced, because you are a sellout and you are not true to your soul and the souls of your ancestors. That's how strongly I feel about that.
You sound like, until you do right by me.
You told Harpo to me.
Everything you do gonna fail until you do right by me. Look,
Yeah,
that's a curse. That's a curse that you got to put on people. So, do you think that there needed to be more conversations? Because one thing I didn't see were a lot of community conversations about what it could mean to bring this industry into the state. And as an organization in Nevada, we didn't have any conversations about it, but also we didn't have enough information to host a conversation about it either. I don't
try to give you any.
No, and there wasn't any reach out that I saw to particular organizations to say, hey, this is what this could look like. Can we get you on board? We were never approached. Not to say that no organization was approached, because some may have been, and we were just out of the loop. That wouldn't surprise me either. But
real quick, not to just interrupt you, but how many times have the Raiders reached out to you? Jillions. The Raiders literally...
I'm about to say somebody in particular actually owes me a text back, but yeah.
So the Raiders literally gave a box for people in the community who do good work in the community to go see Beyonce, a VIP box.
Yeah, I get to take the staff every time Beyonce has a concert.
Right.
We go.
The Raiders believe in, the Raiders have hired people who believe in reaching out to community, rewarding community members for doing good things. And therefore, the Raiders get a lot of goodwill back. These people, these arrogant MFs, felt all they had to do was go set the lobbyists on our bought and paid for Democrats. And it worked until it didn't work. And I'm going to say this. There's a certain state senator who said she voted for it, not because of what it did or didn't do for her community, but as a personal favor to someone who ain't never cared about the community. The whole thing was BS. And anytime you have to do something in a special session, you trying to blank before your husband gets home.
Ooh. So... Sometimes when you do your little mic drop, I don't even know where to go with that. I'll be completely honest. I have nowhere to go with that. But I hear you. And so my question, I think, for the audience would be, what is it that they think about this special session, and particularly, what do they know, or were they informed at all? Do they even know and understand what the film tax credit was about, and did they feel like they had the information in order to make an informed decision for themselves? Now, we do know, as you alluded to earlier, that there were different standards set up for this session than normal session. A normal session, you can watch it online, and then if you have commentary during the open you want to call it a Q&A. It's not a Q&A. But when you could voice your opinion, either for or against or a neutral for a bill, you can call in and be placed in the queue, and you can say your piece. You can also email. You can also show up in Carson City or in Las Vegas, and let your voice be heard and testify. And they limited that this time around for specifically the special session where you weren't able to call in. And I haven't gotten a reason as to why they thought that was a good idea or okay. And because it does feel as though you were trying to intentionally stifle the voices of the community, especially on such short notice when a lot of people can't get to Carson City or even to the legislative building that's down by the airport. It's not easily accessible to people who may not have adequate transportation or the time, because a lot of this happens during the workday too, right? And so if you're at work when this conversation is going on, and maybe you're trying to catch it, on YouTube or on Nellis, or you could call in, get on your break, go call in and be like, hey, I'm for this or I'm against it. It makes me wonder if they were concerned about what might actually be said out loud and have to be transcribed.
Of course they were. And the thing about it is, I think that it ruined three people's political careers, and it really made some others stars. Steve Yeager, who's the president of the Senate, who just thought that he just could walk right in, he literally posted a picture when he thought that this was all going to work. He posted a picture of himself from his feet to his head. He's laying back on a couch, showing off his Louboutins with a smirk on his face. And that thing lit up the internet, because it was like, you seriously thought that you were this much in control. And then the very next day, it all fell apart. And that became, your Louboutins are made for walking, because now so he was going to run for county commission. He was pressuring Justin Jones to get out of the seat so he could be appointed, because Lombardo was going to owe him one for getting this through. Lombardo don't owe him anything anymore. All of a sudden, he's not running for county commission anymore. Danielle Monroe Marino, she's running for mayor of North Las Vegas. I think that she was a leader in this. She got egg on her face because she voted to get rid of the DEI. I think that there's a woman named Hatch, and I wish I could remember her name, but it's like a 3-word name. But she came out the star because she was like, we're not
about Selena LaRue Hatch.
Yeah, her. She was like, I'm not. They pressured her so hard, and she stood up to the abuse and everything. And she said, no, I'm not doing this. And she's the villain in all this, which means she's the hero. My boy, Javon Jackson, he's, got a lot of pressure, and he don't owe nobody nothing because they never did anything for him. So he did the right thing for the people. Other people who are Black adjacent, I'm going to have a serious talk with and explain to them about those cookout rules. I think it really, for the first time, it didn't go the way they thought. And I think it's because the people finally said enough with this giving money away to billionaires thing. And yes, the movie studios would be great to be here, but they're going to drive up the prices of housing. They're going to do all this other stuff. So what's in it for us?
Well, and folks have said in the past, that's one of the reasons that what's-his-face moved here. Was it Mark Wahlberg? That he moved here. He's been lobbying it around for a number of years, because he's been here for a couple years, or he's been there a couple of years now. And so I think it was all to warm things up, maybe. I don't know.
Well, Aaron Ford actually was the first one to bring the whole idea of
Attorney General.
Attorney General, Aaron Ford.
You're not using the titles. People don't know.
I get it. And I also do that in the Black church. I always forget to say bishop and all the rest of it. I'm sorry. But
it's helpful for folks listening, because you're just saying Jovan Jackson, like he's just, the mechanic that works down at the.
Absolutely. You're right. I am too familiar.
Back up. Your walls are too high.
I'm like, hey, you know what all this is like? A special session is like, remember Sex in the City when they had that restaurant that you would take people big to carry to the restaurant that was known as the restaurant?
Everyone's embarrassed that you're embarrassed to be out with somebody, so you take them to that little Chinese place.
Right. That's what a special session is.
Okay. Anyway, you were saying you said Attorney General Aaron Ford.
So Attorney General Aaron Ford was the first person to even bring up the idea of movie studios here. And this was like a decade ago. And his bills, if I remember correctly, were definitely more community oriented. And then they got watered down to this, what it was, it failed. And so I hope that if we go back to this thing, which they're not going to let it die, they're not going to let it go because they lost. And nothing pisses people off more than when they lose and they feel entitled to something. So they're going to come back. I am hoping what will happen is the Attorney General will be elected as our governor. Zach Conine will be elected as our, what do you call it, Lieutenant Governor? And I hope that they will bring the movie studios back with less of a corporatist idea and more of a mutually beneficial economically and socially for the state of Nevada idea. Because it makes sense for the studios to be here. We don't have income tax. We have land. We have so much stuff here. It does make sense. And it would help to diversify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good reasons why it would do well. And it's so close to California so that, people can drive over, but they don't necessarily all have to move to Las Vegas
here
either.
On Southwest, cheaper. And so I used to have a 100.
Maybe we'll get that train finally too, though.
Right. What's it benefits to billionaires? No, they'll do their private jets into the Henderson exec, which you got to start flying into when you become this huge podcaster influencer. But I always said back when I moved here, I used to tell my friends in LA, you could buy a house here and fly in and out of Vegas to Burbank, where the studios are, and get there quicker than if you lived in the South Bay and had to drive to Burbank on the 405, which is a 3-hour commute each way, so it's always made sense, but it doesn't, we're past the point. Vegas is a pretty girl. We shouldn't have to buy our own drinks. Mic drop.
Again, true enough. I think that's a moment right there. So moving on, 2026 means what? It means that there is a midterm election. That means we have a lot of seats up, always congressional seats, always, some state legislative seats. Like you said, we have the governor's race and attorney general's race. There'll be a lot of moving parts happening in the state, but also nationally, right? Like in other states, you've got Jasmine Crockett's going to be running for Senate in Texas. You've got Cori Bush is running back for her congressional seat in St. Louis. You're going to have, I think there's just a lot of places. There's a lot of things happening, and midterms are very different than presidential years. There's usually historically less turnout all the way around. Less people are engaged. There's less money poured into those elections. So you see a lot less ads, and different events happening around. But 2026, I think, will be a little bit different because of the political climate that we're in, and so many folks who are engaged on whatever side they sit on, whether they sit on a liberal Democrat side or independent side or a Republican side or a MAGA side, whatever it is, people are deeply engaged, and there's a lot of expectations for Democrats to turn things around. And I don't know what that really looks like. I don't know what that really means, because they're actually more independent registered voters right now in the state of Nevada for sure. But across the country, I think there's a wave of folks changing their political status, like your Facebook status, like from, being in a committed relationship with Democrats to being an independent single lady out here. And so now you got to woo me to whatever side you want me to. You got to woo me to even show up for the date in the first place, let alone a date with a Dem or a Republican or whomever. And I think it's going to be a cutthroat year. I can already tell just from the discourse online that I've seen on Facebook, particularly locally in Nevada. Folks are already really digging into each other and really pulling out all of the negativity and just nastiness. Is showing up, and it's not even 2026 yet as we record this. And so that's going to be rough, I think, for a lot of folks, but also we're really going to see who our friends are and where people stand.
I personally, as much as I wish, hope, and pray that there would be this massive blue wave, I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the Republicans are going to cheat every which way they can. Secondly, the Democrats.
That's your opinion? That's your prediction? Okay.
Because, that's what they do. The Democrats never miss an opportunity to screw up. The Democrats have done so many dumb things to alienate young people. For instance, out of nowhere, there was a vote to condemn socialism. What? That it had no point whatsoever. And young people identified, and it did have a point. It was an FU to Zoran Madani. He had just won, and the whole country is talking about him. And out of the blue, they decide to have a vote to condemn socialism. And all of our Nevada representatives at the federal level voted for it. It was dumb. It was a political dummery, and I have to think that their donors said that they had to do it, and they did it, and it was because it was an anti-Zoran Mandani thing. So you're basically saying to all of these young people and progressives who have left the party, guess what? You're dumb. You support this communist, socialist, Muslim, jihadist. It was a dumb political move, and there comes a point where just vote present or just vote no, have balls. Secondly, the Democrats, two of the Pillsbury Doughboy up north, I guess he voted for it too, but Congresswomen Susie Lee and Dina Titus both voted to honor Charlie Kirk. Now, being somewhat of a, for lack of a better term, political influencer, how am I supposed to tell any Black person, any gay person, any woman, any Black woman that Dina Titus and Susie Lee deserve their vote? Because at the end of the day, they voted to honor, instead of just saying present or whatever, they literally voted yes on honoring a man who said that if he saw a Black pilot, he automatically started worrying because he didn't think he was qualified. He said that Black women didn't have the intellectual ability to do all sorts of stuff. He said basically that gays should burn in hell. And you voted for that for what? Like, again, have a set of nuts. Stand up for your people as opposed to trying to pander to people who are never going to vote for you. And I think that the Democratic Party is going to have an internal moment where the established people who are all 70 and 80 years old, they don't want to go. They don't want to give up their insider stock trading. They don't want to have fresh blood come in. Look at what they did to David Hogg, David Hogg got the Erika Washington treatment. David Hogg is a young activist who became a vice chair of the party in some sort of division, whatever, I don't know the intricacies. And he's pro-Palestinian, or not pro-Palestinian, but he's against genocide. And they just, did him dirty until they finally forced him out of the party, as Erika has experienced herself. And that in and of itself, how many millions of young people looked at that and said, what the hell? They're going to screw it up. And we might be at that point where we have to have our Tea Party / MAGA moment in the Democratic Party, because the people who are in the establishment they're beholden to certain people, certain groups, certain donor groups, and they like their cushy life, and they still think that progressives are the end of the earth, even though progressive ideas poll the most popularly. I just don't give Democrats the credit to be smart enough to get out of their own way while they're grifting, especially on the stock market. I just don't see it.
I was going to try to explain what you meant by what happened to me, and I couldn't think of a concise way to.
You had new ideas, you had inclusive ideas, you had ideas that you had great ideas, and for no reason whatsoever other than the fact that you were a Black woman trying to involve other strong Black women, you got pushed out. Let's just be honest.
They weren't even all Black women, honestly. There were other people who weren't. They
weren't part of the establishment.
They weren't Black. And some were even establishment. Some were even that. Like, I was trying to bridge both sides and putting together this committee. So in a nutshell, I won to be first vice chair of the Democratic Party in Clark County, the county in which Las Vegas sits inside of. I won that election, and my job was to
handily.
Yes. In a runoff. And also my job was to put together a committee of folks to help do some political organizing. So I tried to pick people who were both on the Bernie side and the Hillary side, because at that time, that's where the biggest fraction was the Hillary folks and the Bernie folks. And so I put together this list of folks, and then I was told my list was not inclusive and I needed to add white people because they were white. Basically, that's what I was told. It's like, in order for there to be equality, you have to add this person because they're white, and this person because they're gay, and this person and I was like, that's not actually what inclusivity is. And not to say I didn't have both straight and gay folks on my list, because I did. And I had, Hispanic and Black. I had women and men. I had a lot of folks, but I was thinking more from a political inclusive side and thinking about the diversity inside the party so that we would have different thought processes that we could then try to mend the fences and build the bridges, because we were really fractured. And yeah, it became a whole entire shit show, honestly. Every now and again, it'll come up in my memories of people holding up posters.
They were full on protesting. They were protesting posters for Erika.
Yeah, like that. Like it boggles my mind. It made the papers and all of that. Like it was a whole thing. Anywho, say all that to say is like that was my foray into party politics, and I decided that was just not where my energy needs to be, because I can't make headway with folks who can't see big picture and not want to do things differently in order to get better results. Which is why I think, not just because I'm not there, but in general, that's why we can't have nice things, and we don't have all the things that we could have as a community, as a country, not just as Democrats. Like I was an independent for the longest, partially because I was a journalist, but also because it made the most sense. I leaned Democrat and have voted Democrat. I have voted for a Republican before in the past, but for, very particular seats when I thought about like what they could do, because I think that also matters. It's not like you don't have to vote straight ticket either, but also thinking about like what they can do for entire communities, not just for yourself. And so regardless, I think one main things I'm concerned about is how are folks messaging to those folks who are independents? Because how are you wooing them? You're not guaranteed to take them home and sleep with them. And that's how I look at in that metaphor. There is not a guarantee that the Democratic Party has a sure thing. So if you actually got to get out here and date and show a personality, and you got to woo, and you have to open doors, and you have to wine and dine, but also got to show up with consistency, like that's why so many women are single, because now that, men have to show up with more than just like, I got a job, and you actually have to have a real personality and be of some interest and bring something to the table that I'm already sitting at. Right. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, so Democrats, what are you bringing to the table in order to woo people over there? Because right now everybody's checked single on their box.
Well, so I had a conversation with Dr. Sandra Cosgrove about this, who is a community activist and very much in tune with numbers. Attorney General Ford and Governor Lombardo are tied 28 to 28% of the voters. Well, the vast majority of voters are independents. Yes. How do you woo them? Here's the problem. So in the last election, Hispanics voted overwhelmingly for Donald Trump. And now, because they didn't think his policies would affect them. So, you get what you voted for. Now, the Democrats are going to now try to get them. Democrats do this thing every election where they figure blacks are in the back pocket, because where else are you going to go? Gays are in their back pocket, because where else are you going to go? And they constantly spend money, time, energy, effort in the Hispanic community, and they just think everybody else is going to show up because where else are you going to go? Trump he's a lot of things, but he's not stupid when it comes to racial politics. He's going to get rid of Maduro. That's going to help Cuba fall, and all of them are going to go right back to Trump. And the Democrats are going to be like, where is everybody? Because they're not going to go after the independents. They're not going to shore up their black base. They're not going to basically with the gays, they come to the gays every year for money. and then are like, we're not going to protect you legally. So Democrats, until they change that mentality and stop taking people for granted and start reaching out to people, like they think they can persuade Republicans, the persuadable Republicans. There are no persuadable Republicans. You can sell yourself to an independent, but ain't no Republican going to vote for Susie Lee. Ain't no Republican going to vote for Dina Titus. But they're also not going to go and just try to find young people or create people to vote. Every election, people ask me my opinion, and they'll tell me, well, we're not going to go to young people. They don't vote. We're not going to, the Black people in the government housing, they're not going to vote. And how many times have we seen Black people in government housing organize and make stuff happen? But the Democrats don't want to put any money there. They don't want to put any time and effort there. So I don't have high hopes. I think that we will get to Congress, but I don't think they're going to do anything. I don't think that they're going to go, like, where's my Harriet Tubman $20 bill? Where's my voting rights? Where's all the outrage over the fact that Black studies programs are constantly under attack? And now if you have DEI in a college, you can be charged with fraud. What are the Democrats doing about that? They're going to get in Congress, and they're going to be like, well, we have other stuff to worry about right now. We need to not do that. That's not the biggest priority. Yeah, it is. It is the biggest priority. Get me my Harriet Tubman $20 bill and show me that you care. Simple as that.
And also, there are some people who just don't vote, right? Like people always talk about, so many people voted for Democrats and, X number of people voted for Republican or what have you, but there's so many more who don't vote at all. And it's like, how are we reaching those folks to engage them? And how are we also then holding people accountable? Like that's the part that's also exhausting, having to hold people that you've elected. You spent all that money and all that time wooing me. And then here you go. You show up and I say, okay, great. Now we can be in a relationship. And then you do nothing.
Or you vote against DEI because your white friend wanted you to. So where's the accountability for that person?
Well, it's more that also that you end up voting for, you vote for people who then show up and then they're so worried about staying in the seat that they don't do anything with it that has any real impact or intention. And I've heard that over and over again of like, well, we just need to hold on to the seat. Hold on to it for what? We're just keeping it high, just having a hot seat for nothing.
And that's why they shouldn't be primary, because that'll just be messy. Well, you know what? I've seen you in your role as the head of an organization. You give people job reviews constantly. Everybody has to go in for a job review and you don't hold back. It doesn't mean you're being mean. It means you are honest about saying you did this well, you did not do that well. One thing I like about your organization is everyone is held accountable. We don't do that with politicians, and I'm gonna call it out. We certainly don't do that with Black politicians in the Black community. We clap for them and we let them sit at the front and we give them whatever that revolving award is that every Black person gets. And yet, and then we talk about holding them accountable. You have the people right in front of you. This session, you have people right in front of you that will walk into an NAACP meeting and get a standing ovation who need to be held accountable. I think that it is time to make that word matter. Get the belt out, take them out back, get a switch off the tree, because we don't do it.
I think it'll be an interesting year. I think we're gonna end up having a lot of conversations, and I hope, and throwing this out there in the intentions is to invite everyone who is running, everyone who is engaged in the political process this year to show up on the podcast and tell folks what your intentions are, and then your plan of how you're actually going to execute said intentions, and how folks
earn your seat.
Yes. How will you earn the vote, but then also how will you earn the seat to stay, and how will you earn our admiration? Because also I think I look forward to what the new mayor of New York will do, and Mayor Mandami will do. But I also hope he's given the space to figure things out, because any sort of anything that even looks like it's wrong or, a misstep or what have you, like they're going to come down so hard on him. And that will be disappointing that you don't give people space, because you still need time. Just like, you're talking about as a job, like you're starting a new job. You got to learn the ropes. You got to come in and orient yourself into the place, and also then make the changes you want to make, and then see what happens. You got to give him time to be able to do that. But the other thing I also want to say is Democrats need to stay off his coattails, because they weren't supporting him. They don't think that's not even the style of politics that the majority of the folks running even run on. And the ideals that he has aren't the Democratic ideals of the traditional candidate. So the fact that it took so long for him to even get endorsements from some of the bigger names in the country, yet afterwards it was like, we won. Yeah. No, we didn't.
No, AIPAC Shakur, Hakeem Jeffries, he still hasn't endorsed him. And when he was asked about it, he's like, well, it's good that
he endorsed him at the end. He did. He did end up endorsing him.
So tepidly. It was like, if it was sticking to the wall, it'd be like one of those sticky things you put on the car windshield to hold the phone, and it just falls off. It just, and like you said, stop, get off my jock, because none of them supported him. And it bothers me. And I think they're going to harass him every single day. They're going to harass his wife. The Bob Beers of the world are going to find something to pick at about him every single day. But I think he's strong enough he's sort of got that Obama thing with less gives a F than Obama did, because Obama was in a special place where he had to give a F occasionally, mostly. I think Joe Brown is different. I think he's of a different generation where they don't see any benefit in acting like somebody they're not. I really do. I have great hope for him.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, and I'm really glad you won. Okay, before we go, because we said we're gonna keep it short. We're already over time. We don't actually know what that means. It's too hard. Thinking about 2026 and bringing in your intentions for 2026. Actually, let me back up, because we didn't talk about celebrity deaths. We said we're going to do that. Oh, shoot. Okay, so this podcast is longer than it needs to be. So folks are having to listen to some of this online and not on the radio, because we've gone over time. So thinking about celebrity deaths, like obviously the first thing that comes to my mind, because it's just still so fresh, is Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, being murdered allegedly by their son, which seems so, like, everything about it feels heartbreaking, right? Because I am a big Rob Reiner fan. Always. I'm a fan of his as an actor and as a director. Like, I love Sleepless in Seattle. I love When Harry Met Sally. I love The Princess Bride. These are my movies that I grew up with. I watch When Harry Met Sally probably at least once a year. Like, I love that movie. Like, I absolutely love that movie. But I even love him as like a sidekick in Sleepless in Seattle. He always has like little funny one-liners or whatever. And he just seemed like an actual nice guy. And somebody, like, if I met him, we would chop it up and have a really great conversation.
Yeah, if you were on the airplane with him, you'd be happy to be sitting next to him. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Him and Nora Ephron. I feel like I could be sandwiched between him and Nora Ephron and have had, beautiful conversations. Like, I think as human beings, because, also what's interesting is like they could never write about white or about Black people, like really never any Black people in any of their movies. Right. But that was okay, because they're writing about what they know, and they didn't try to add stuff that they didn't know and then mess it up. And I appreciated that also. But he just seemed like a really smart and interesting person. And to have that happen to him, and then for his daughter to find like all of that, the whole thing, like, it really, really shook me. Like, it sat with me for days. Like, it really affected me.
I grew up with him because Archie Bunker was everybody's dad as things changed. Like, George Jefferson and Archie Bunker, for my generation, were our dads or our grandfathers, in the sense that they were gruff working class people who laughed at other cultures. We didn't call it culture back then, colors. And Archie Bunker would say stuff to Meathead, who was played by Rob Reiner. And Rob Reiner, Meathead, would stand up for everybody. And so for the first time, there was somebody on TV giving a bigot back the business. And not, and coming from Chicago with a large Polish population, to hear him called a Polak, it was almost like we knew what a Polak was, because we went down on Sundays and had Polish sausages in, I'm not going to say what we used to call it because it is a very offensive word for that area. But it was just, Rob Reiner was the first white person that we saw on TV standing up for everybody, for women, for Blacks, for Hispanics. He was just cool people. And he was really funny. And when he got serious, you felt it from it wasn't like he was reciting lines. It came from his soul. So yeah, he's a definite part of my childhood.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also Anthony Gary passed away. He was Luke on General Hospital. I was a big fan of General Hospital as a kid. I watched my stories, even though that storyline of Luke and Laura was really problematic.
Problematic now.
It's been problematic, but yeah, it was really problematic.
So for those of you who don't know, Luke, played by Anthony Gary, was a ne'er-do-well. He raped, which we're using the word now, Laura. And somehow, because he was so charismatic and popular with the people, they managed to turn it around so that he became a good guy. And then Laura married her rapist, which is like, would never fly now. But Elizabeth Taylor was so into the storyline that she begged them to be on. So they created a role for her. And that was like months of anticipation of Liz Taylor is going to come on to General Hospital because they were going to have a wedding. And I don't know how it was for you as a little straight girl, but us gay dudes, we were so in. I don't care what job we had, we somehow managed to be home or near a TV at 12 o'clock to watch General Hospital for months leading up to the wedding. And when Liz Taylor came on, it was a real moment for us gays. I mean, that was such a thing. That was a moment and everybody, I think they said something like 30-something million people watched it in the middle of the day, the wedding. Which is crazy. That
probably sounds right. That sounds right. And I don't know how they got away with that storyline, but actually I do know how they got away with it because it was the early 80s and they were still coming out of the whole like sexual harassment still wasn't a thing yet. And so many things weren't looked at as problematic in the same way. And also rape wasn't looked at as a violent thing. It was looked at as a man took what belonged to him. Yes. A lot of passion and what have you. And that's why you could have to watch all those old movies where a woman will slap a man and then he's kissing her anyway. And she's sort of pushing away and and next thing you know, she melts right into it. And then you wake up the next day like, oh, that was so great. Right.
And it felt like a kiss was one song back then.
Exactly.
But Tony Geary also being America's heartthrob, and he wasn't an attractive man, but he was every woman's sort of like.
He had a very fuzzy fro. He had a fuzzy fro.
Weird fro. But he was also secretly gay and had a partner that was with him till the day he died. They were together for something like 40-something years. And it's so funny because that certainly never could have gotten out. And like even us gays who went to Palm Springs didn't know that. So he was something else. He really was.
Yeah.
Who else is on your list?
Diane Keaton was also someone that shocked me because, we didn't know she was sick. And so, again, someone that I love their acting. And Baby Boom is another one of my favorite 80s movies. And I just knew, and I reference Baby Boom all the time. And I'm like, that's what I thought I was going to grow up and be, was this power walking lady, walking to work in Manhattan, wearing my Easy Spirit, tennis shoes with my pumps in my bag. And I was going to work 100 hours a week and be successful because I thought that's what success was. And, yes. Well, yeah. And then get one of those Woody Jeep Wagoneer. Oh my gosh, I wanted one so bad. I still love them actually. Like if I was a person who had the space to like collect cars and have like just a different car, I would have a Woody. I love them so much. And so I just saw her as like this role model in some way. And I don't even know, like she was erratic and crazy and all of these things, but she was the tiger lady. And I was like, oh, I can be that tiger lady. So shoot, here we go. And so, yeah, I loved her movies.
People think of her in that era. Again, being older than you, I remember her in the Looking for Mr. Goodbar era when she was making dirty movies, basically like intense movies, when she was in The Godfather. You know, I remember her from those periods. But one thing about Diane Keaton, no matter what she was in, if it was on, if I'm like switching channels and I see it's Diane Keaton, I'll sit and I'll watch. I'm definitely going to sit around for a minute because I know she's going to be great no matter what.
Yeah. Family Stone is another movie that I watch all the time with her that is a Christmas movie. And I watch it every year. And it's a little cringy, but I love it. Craig T. Nelson. Yes. Craig T. Nelson, Sarah Jessica Parker's in it. And it's fun. I think it's fun. Yeah, I can't think. Someone else passed away.
First Wives Club.
Oh, yeah. First Wives Club. That was fun. I can't think of who else passed away this year.
Well, Brigitte Bardot, another problematic goddess. You know, again, because I'm older than you.
That's all on you over there.
Yeah. Her music, her story. She was the first real she wore the bikini for the first time. She did nude scenes for the first time, you know, in racy European movies, not over here. And she never tried to be a Hollywood star. She was perfectly content with being the queen of Europe. She married the heir to the, I want to say BMW fortune. She was a part of that 60s jet set society with the Duke and Duchess of Windsor and all of the Egon von Furstenbergs and all of that. And she really, as a little kid, she just epitomized to me this life where people lived in penthouses and, you know, rode around in fast cars and went with Aristotle and Onassis on the Christina. And she's from that era. But then she turned out to be a horrible racist. But she also...
And homophobe.
Yeah, way homophobic. But she also did something that changed the world. She was the first person of her stature to really reach to speak out about animal cruelty and about furs and she made animals count as beings that should be treasured with the baby seals, because they used to club the baby seals every year. And the baby seals were white, and they would club them because they didn't want to, they'd club them in the head to kill them because they didn't want to mess up the pelts. So all of the baby seals, the fur coats, they would go out every year on the ice floes, and hundreds of people would just beat these baby seals because they were only good as babies because that's when the coat was good. And she put a stop to that. And that then led into animal rights and all that stuff. So as awful as she was, she will always have that lasting legacy as being the person who really started the animal rights movement.
And I think that's beautiful. You know, I think that there's room for all of that. I just don't know how you have room for all of that and still think that Muslims are ruining your country and gay folks are bad and whatever else you thought. Like, how do you hold such high esteem for animals, but then can be so nasty to other human beings? It's so interesting how the human concept is so...
Yeah. They'll write a law over an abused dog before they'll help a little black girl. And I'm just going to say that, you know, like there's something about animals in them. I don't get it. They name their animals after people. I don't know.
Yeah. Anybody else pass away that you can think of? Malcolm Joel Warner.
Yeah. Yeah. That was some people you don't expect to die. Like they don't have how do you put it? Like with Diane Keaton, when she died, did you think that she would ever die?
Well, it's not that I didn't think she would ever die. She just didn't seem that old to me. So, and she just seems
Yeah,
so healthy and vibrant. So you're not thinking about, her just dying at the time. Like, so I'm not a person who doesn't think people are going to not die. It's just some feel expected, like Cicely Tyson when she passed away. It was sort of expected, that was happening, and because she was, getting up there in age. But they're like a Rob Reiner and a Diane Keaton, you do kind of expect them to be coming out with another movie, sometime soon.
That's what I mean. Like, I can't. There are certain people, and I don't want to put the juju out there, but I mean a Cher, a Madonna. I'll tell you about some of these celebrity deaths. I'm finally at the age where people that meant something to me as a child are starting to die.
Mm-hmm. Robert Redford, he did pass away this year.
Yeah. So our favorite movie, Barefoot in the Park.
I do love Barefoot in the Park.
Yeah. But as I get older, I'm getting more to celebrities that I care about and grew up with are reaching the end of their cycle. And that's weird to me, because it's the whole, oh my God, 81, he's so young. It's like,
right. Yeah. You get to that age where you're, because I remember my grandparents would say that, I'd be like, that's young. But now it's like, wait, hold on now. That's too close to me. Yeah. Val Kilmer also. And I know he was sick for a long time, but I saw him live. He did a one-man show in Pasadena, California. It was Mark Twain, and he played Mark Twain. It was such a good show. Like, he was so talented, and I'm so glad that I got to see him perform on a stage in this show, this Mark Twain, Citizen Twain, I think it was called, and it was in Pasadena. And I just went on a little road trip with our friend Downtown Steve. He just called me one day and was like, you want to go to Pasadena and see the show? And I was like, yeah. So we got in the car and went, and he was like, I don't actually have tickets, but hopefully we'll find some when we get there. And I was just like, okay. He's very fly by the seat of your pants sort of dude. But we did. We found tickets or were able to, I think, get some from a scalper or somebody, I don't know. And we saw this show, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Val Kilmer, I think, is one of those folks that people really need to see their favorite movie stars on stage to really see how good they are as an actor. And that really showcased how good he was.
I've never heard of or thought of him as a stage actor. I was trying to remember the movie that I love of his so much. He's at the height of his beauty, because Val Kilmer was a beautiful man when he was younger. And he made a movie called Top Secret. Now, as a kid, my two favorite types of movies were spy films like In Like Flint, James Bond, Dean Martin's Matt Helm. If it was a corny spy movie, John Goldfarb, Would You Please Come Home? I loved a big Technicolor, funny spy movie. And I also loved an Elvis Presley musical. I have seen every Elvis Presley movie 1,000 times because they all came on in the middle of the day when you get home from school. He did a movie called Top Secret, and it's from the same people as who did Airplane. And it is a spy musical, and it's hilarious. Every scene that he's in, he is amazing. And it's one of my all-time favorite movies. And for that alone, he's in my pantheon of people that I will always appreciate. But going through his filmography, I'm like, dang, Val Kilmer, Tombstone, Top Gun Maverick, Batman Forever, Heat, Willow, The Doors. He was so good in The Doors. Oh my God, playing Jim Morrison. That movie was so good. The Saint, Prince of Egypt, Real Genius, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. The man's filmography is just True Romance. I forgot he was in all these movies. So, rest in peace, Val Kilmer.
And so before we go, I don't want to miss both Angie Stone and D'Angelo. Both.
Yeah, that was sad.
Both this year, and them having a child together, It seems like they were no longer a couple. They hadn't been together for years. But, I think about there were quite a few folks who were interconnected that way who are gone. Because also Gene Hackman and his wife
Oh
were
yeah.
found in their house and had passed away it had been some time before they were even found. But with D'Angelo and Angie Stone, they have a child together, a grown man
Yeah.
now. But, he's lost both his parents, and so many people lost
One
both of
right
their
after the other.
parents. So many people lost both of their parents
Yeah.
in the same year in 2025.
In traumatic ways.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon for that to happen, but it feels like it's so up close and personal, in that way. My grandparents
Yeah.
died like right after each other, so it's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
But before we go, I want to set some intentions for 2026. I just want to, do you have a top 3 of what you want to see happen for you?
Yeah.
2026.
First of all, I'm going to give myself a pat on the back and say, I want to continue being a better friend. One thing that I will say I've always been good at is being intentional about telling people that I love them and that I care about them and how much they mean to me. And, my friend Christopher, who died with Aaliyah the night before, we had just told each other how much we meant to each other. So I didn't have that feeling that I didn't do that. And I want to continue being a good friend and a good person. That's something I want to amplify and just make sure all my friends know I care about them. Financially, I have decided that I can no longer operate from a sense of being against the wall in order to make my financial decisions and my financial intentions. And thirdly, I want very much to have a successful YouTube channel, not just talking to people, but focusing on cars, because I love cars. And that is what I'm going to really make an effort to talk about people and their cars, because I think cars tell as much about you as your clothes, your children. I just really think there's a lot of stories out there. I love telling stories of people, and it's one of the things that I am bound and determined to do in addition to talking to people about politics and stuff like that. I'm going to live my passion. And you? But see, here's the thing, Erika. You're so together and so good and so beautiful and so you're like a wonderful person. And I don't care who hears it. And so therefore, yeah, go ahead. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Make the rest of us feel bad? Go ahead, say it. I'm going to sew angel wings on every downtrodden person. You're like that. You're like, wait, let me lose you some more. You're super talented. You're super dedicated. You're super good to people. You're super loyal. You're super when you want to make something happen, you make it happen. What could you possibly want? You're like Richie Rich calling Santa Claus and going, oh yeah, I'm going to need a gold-plated bike. What could you want?
Some new purses. Thank you. That's very sweet of you. And I always want to be a better friend. I always want to show up in the best way that I can for people and be that person that people feel like they can have rallying for them. I do love being that person. I think for me, the top things that I want to think about is being more intentional with my time. I know I spend too much time scrolling on social media. It's awful some days that I realize how much time I've spent. And they'll be interesting. There's the funny, goofy videos or what have you, but then there's also I watch educational things on TikTok, or I like a lot of educational influencers who are talking about our messy ancestors and that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's fun, but it's also I'm learning things as well. But I do spend too much time scrolling and in my head about things and thinking about what I want to do, but not executing as much as I should be. And so I think I need to step out on faith more and stop being afraid of what could happen if I try to do something new and different. So I feel like I've cocooned myself in a lot of ways over the past couple years as a self-preservation, to protect myself from outside entities that I felt like were trying to get me or whatever. And now, like I can't live there because it's not where I belong and it's not where I'm going to grow. I need to show my creativity. And so I think that's my other thing is like, I'm going to write more. I used to write all the time. I used to write daily and I don't anymore. And I can't keep calling myself a writer or a journalist if I'm not actually writing anything down and thinking things through so that I sometimes think I have some profound thoughts, but then they're in my head and then they fleet away because I've gotten, again, stuck just doing things I have to do and not things that I want to do that lead me to bigger and greater things. And so more specifically, since you were specific about some of the stuff you want to do, for me, one is I am going to up my social media presence in a way so that people know more about this podcast and other podcasts and maybe a new podcast, who knows, but also just other things that I can help produce. I love producing the music video that we did last year. It was such a dope experience. I really enjoyed that. Wanting to step out and do more things that are outside of my wheelhouse. I want to write some think pieces and some really in-depth essays around things that I think are important happening in our lives. I want to finish decorating my house. I don't know if it'll ever be finished, but I'm going to get my bedroom done. I'm going to paint it and I'm going to make it beautiful, make this beautiful space that I've been thinking about in my head that I have on my vision board. That's
You can be on Homeworthy one day.
It's one on my list of things is to be on Homeworthy and to show my decorating skills off to people because I really enjoy doing that. My other goal is to set myself up financially with my estate planning. So I need to get serious. Like I am, getting ready to turn 46, which is still quite young, but also I have responsibilities. I have grown children and I need to be able to, if something were to happen to me, I would not want them to walk into this house the way that it is right now and them not know where anything is, that there's no will or living trust or any sort of paperwork that would give them a guidance on what to do to take care of things afterwards and to take care of them. So making sure all of my stuff is in order is really important to me to take care of in 2026 so that I can feel like if anything happens to me in the near future, that they have a guidebook and that they're not stuck in court papers and not knowing, what is what, because that's cruel and unusual and unnecessary, I think, for folks. The amount of grieving that you have to do, and during that time, you're making really heavy decisions about things. I want to take some of that worry off of them that they would have, that they wouldn't even know that they would have. So I want to do that as well. And I think that's a good start for me anyway. And as we start to pivot with our work, like I want to do great things. Like I just want to do some unique and interesting and creative things that fall in line with the ideas around reproductive justice and reparations and just overall liberation for Black women.
Tell me this, to wrap all of this up. One of the things that is most important to me is legacy. How important is legacy to you? And what does it mean?
Legacy is the seeds that you plant. It's the seeds that you plant that you actually never see the flowers that grow. And I think that the legacy that I want to leave is one that I left this earth in the space that I touched a little bit better than when I found it, and that I have made strides that make my ancestors proud, and that I continue the trajectory towards liberation and greatness and not sacrificed who I am as a person and honored the struggle that I didn't have to do, that my grandparents and great grandparents had to go through in order for me to get to where I am and for my children to get to where they are. And quick anecdotal story. For Christmas Eve, I went over a cousin's house. He's a young man. He's in his 20s and he homeowner, has a fiance, doing really well, very proud of him. And I'm sitting there on his couch and I'm listening to him talk about opportunities that are coming up for him, job offers that he's getting to do some really, strong leadership roles. And then I'm hearing his brother talk about his leadership that he's doing. He's in the Air Force and he's really moving up the ranks, and he's not even 30 yet or just turned 30, and he's got a lot of stripes or whatever. Like I'm not good with the military levels to say exactly what he is, but he's moving up really fast in a very impressive way. And he's going to be able to retire in like the next 8 to 10 years and retire in a great space. And I got emotional for a moment, like ear hustling, listening to him talk and all of that. And I thought about it. I was like, these are my grandfather's grandchildren. We are all his grandchildren in this room. And my grandfather was a functionally illiterate man from Alabama who pinched together what he could. My grandmother too, not taking her out of this equation, but he didn't have any formal education. She had very little formal education. And you were able to create this family that now you have grandchildren who are in these really good leadership positions. You have great grandchildren living in other countries, exploring other cultures and so many things. And who knows what their children will do, right? And so like this struggle that sorry, I don't know if that could be heard or not, but there is just this moment that I felt like I was just right in that sweet spot where I could see the past and I could see the future. And it's so beautiful because, again, they talk about being our ancestors' wildest dreams. I don't know if I'm their wildest dreams or not, but I'm certainly, we're certainly doing things that they never had an opportunity to dream about. They didn't even have the space to dream because all they could do was work. All they could do was be. All they could do was survive. And we can move away from just surviving. We can actually dream about what we want to have, not just what we have to do. And my children even more so can think about what they want to do, not just what they have to do. Less obligation and more room for creativity and beauty and living a life that is fulfilling, and a dream that's fulfilling dreams. And so I think it's just a beautiful space to be in at this moment. And so I don't know how far I'll get. I don't know what that looks like. I am trying to manifest abundance, and financial security. Like I'd love to be able to feel more secure in my day to day.
I have to say something, what you just said, and I want to just say this for you. You're turning the struggle into a journey. You and your family, you and those cousins that you just talked about, you've turned the struggle into a journey.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Which I think turns it into a trip.
Yeah.
And
an adventure.
The vacation. Yeah. It's an adventure, like an actual adventure where we can enjoy and laugh. And
our ancestors didn't have an opportunity for an adventure. They didn't have the opportunity. So yes, you are creating the path for future generations to not worry about the struggle, but to be going on a journey, and which will eventually lead to their children going on an adventure, and so on and so on. And that's very admirable.
Yeah. And I think that's how we create generational wealth, right? Generational wealth is not just how much money you leave somebody, but what type of wealth of knowledge and the wealth of connection and the connection to community. What is
and
what are we
lack of fear to move forward.
And that's
you're instilling that in your daughters, very much so.
And I think we have to, but I have to remind myself to also instill that into myself.
Yeah.
As much as I can preach a good sermon to them and try to instill all that in them, I have to remind myself that I need to be on this journey and be grateful and full of gratitude for the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that because it's building me towards whatever is next. And even though some of the lessons and some of the past couple of years I felt like I could have did without, and still felt like I could have learned plenty of good lessons without so much hurt and pain and trauma, I think there is more on the other side. I haven't even seen it yet because I'm still in a healing process. And yeah, I'm looking forward to 2026. There's something about 2026 that I'm feeling. I really want to get this right. I'm feeling at ease. Like, even though like I got my credit card bills is higher than I want them to be, and there's not a guarantee of funding for the organization to last through the year because life is hard right now and donors are not donating the way they used to, and there's uncertainty about the work and how we can do it the way that makes the most sense, that is really impactful. There's so many unanswered questions, but for some reason right now I just feel like it's all going to be all right.
I wish that, I will say this, and it will be. I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm like, bring it, bitch. And I end my note on that.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Sticky Note Conversations.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this journey. Please stay on the journey with us as we get into 2026. I look forward to what your new year brings for you. And I look forward to manifesting some great conversations and really dope guests in 2026 and expanding our audience outside of Nevada, across the country, across the world, into some new markets. Like I manifest all of it. I manifest having Tabitha Brown on, Shonda Rhimes, Jane Fonda, like all these people I would love to have on the show. And just, I'm manifesting goodness and security for all of us and a sense of safety. So on that note, thank you so much for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Sticky Note Conversations with Erika Washington. Hosted and executively produced by Erika Washington, with editing by Black Gypsy LLC and Simone Endres. Special thanks to KUNV 91.5 in Las Vegas. This show is powered by Make It Work Nevada, a project of Tides Advocacy. And a special thank you to Grove GT Teague and Eno Savad, who made our new theme song, Way Below Acceptable.
Hey y'all, it's Erika Washington. Don't forget, you can find all our episodes on most streaming platforms, including Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just look for Make It Work Nevada, Sticky Note Conversations, or my name, Erika Washington. That's Erika with a K.